have a wife? Yeah. Her name is Apex Legends.
はい、どうもまとめです。ということで今日は N チームインタビュー第3弾ということで、ウォルツィにインタビューしてきました。この動画で今回のインタビューシリーズは終了なんですけど、3人のうちで一番チームについて話してくれたような気がします。やっぱりギルド、ウォルツィ、ティミー、3人揃ってのノットモイストなんだなというふうに感じましたね。それではご覧ください。じゃあまた次の動画で。
So, my role on Moist is IGL/Frago.Basically, I'm in charge of all macro decisions, and I'm also sort of in charge of like entering fights and opening up fights. Timmy is co-IGL, and also sort of a flex player. He plays sort of refrag, not really Frago, and he just has like a lot of impact on the fights that we take, and just suggests a lot for us. And then Guild is our support / refrag, and he's very, very good at that. His entire goal is basically just to do damage, hold spots, and occasionally he does actually make suggestions as well. I would say it's just the case that we have like 3 of the best individual players in the world. A lot of teams consist of maybe 1 or 2. Whereas I feel like in all 3 of my players, like we are all the best at what we do, or one of the best at what we do, and also at the same time that we have Timmy, who is very unorthodox and tends to have a different way of like viewing the game. So like sometimes we do make some plays that teams like don't really expect, which makes our team like a bit unique. That, and we also can play like hard zone and hard edge. We're not one of those teams that has one play style. We tend to play both. So like we can rotate, and if we don't have zone, then we'll play edge and drop like a lot of kills. I would say for me it is my work ethic. I think I work harder than 99% of the players in this game. That would be globally as well. I don't think there's many players that can outwork me, and that's something that I tend to pride myself on, because I feel like hard work will always beat talent, and I would say that I definitely haven't always been the most talented player, and I think I've worked hard to get to where I am. For Timmy, it's his like unique way of thinking of the game, and his confidence. He's just like not shy, so he's just like very much has these really unorthodox plays that he has confidence to make, and he's also got just insane confidence in his mechanics and his ability to play the game. So I'd definitely say it's just like the unorthodox factor for Timmy. And then for Guild, his biggest strength is how clutch he is. He is one of the most reliable players I've ever played with, and he's one of the more perfect players I've ever played with. He doesn't tend to make mistakes, and he's just a great teammate. He is by far the easiest teammate I've ever worked with. Doesn't butt heads with me, and like doesn't have any issues, so one of my favorite teammates. So for me, the reason that I last LAN went to 12th was because I basically ran out of gas, or I ran out of energy, because the LAN went for so long, because it went for 13 games. So for me, it is a case of just not burning out and being able to last the duration of like the match points. So whether it's like 8 games or 12 games, it's being able to IGL at like a high level for those 12 games. Because at the last LAN, I would say I IGL'd well for about 9, and then after that I kind of like fell off because I was just tired and my brain was like fried. In terms of team, I really just think 1%ers is what sort of holds us back. And what that is just small tasks that, you know, every team does and every team has, and a lot of the time it'll get you killed, like not watching your back, you know, not scanning, not checking corners, not, you know, checking to see the map as soon as map reveals, just stuff like that, just not paying attention to player scans, just all the small things that add up when you allow yourself to make those small mistakes because of complacency and laziness. So for this LAN, Reject isn't at the LAN, so it's like, it's a little bit disappointing because I think Reject is a very good team. I would much prefer them to be there. I think they're one of the best teams in the world. I'm also a big Justner fan because I've known him since a long time ago in FFL and maybe even like a little bit before that. And I played with him a very long time ago. So I've like always really liked Justner and I think he's a really great player. So when Reject picked him up, I had like really high hopes for them. But for this LAN, Fnatic are definitely one of my favorite teams. We work very closely with those guys. Gunboy, who is their coach manager, he's like one of my favorite people that I've met in the game. So their team is always a team that I want to do very, very well. And I think that they are a very unique team because they have Yuka, who is one of the best mechanical players in the game. And so he adds a lot of uncertainty just because he can just make a lot of things happen just because of how good he is. So I would definitely say Yuka is one of the, Fnatic is one of the teams and Yuka is like one of my favorite players. So I definitely would be keeping my eye on those guys. Let me see. Sorry, I just need to see who's actually from APAC-North that's playing at this. Maybe Northeption. Northeption's always been a team that I feel like they do really well in scrims, and they don't really have the greatest performance at LAN. So I'd like to see them do like a lot better. Especially because I think they do have like a good roster. I just think they haven't been able to put it together. So definitely Northeption as well. I would say it is Zero because I'm very close with Zero. But I like them for different reasons. I think in terms of who the better IGL is, I think it's Hal. Sorry, I think it's Zero, not Hal. I think Zero is the better IGL. I think Hal is a very, very good player, and I think he's a good teammate, and he has a very good work ethic. Like he grinds the game a lot, so I have a lot of respect for him in that regard. But yeah, it's Zero because I know him very well. I've played with him a lot. We're both Australian, so definitely Zero. So my daily routine, I would say, is I wake up. I probably would R5 for half an hour to an hour before I play scrims. I play scrims. Hopefully I play both blocks. So we try and play as many scrim blocks as we can. So if we're playing both scrim blocks, it is an hour of R5 before it's both scrim blocks. Then afterwards, I will watch VODs of every other team from scrims and just like watch and see how they play the game and stuff like that, and just try and learn. And then after that, I would say if I'm not playing ranked, then I would put probably another hour of R5 in, and then that would be like my whole day. I would say I've VOD review for about and like an hour and a half, depending on like how short the VODs are and stuff like that. So it would be roughly like a 8 to 12 hour day, depending. Right now it's probably the Havoc, because I think it's broken, but my favorite all time is definitely the R99, but it's really bad right now, so I can't use it. But Havoc as of right now. So I can actually, I'll type this in our chat together. So my last name is...
What?
Yeah, so my last name is Walton.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, I tried to make the name Wxltzy, which is this. But the name was taken on console on PS4, so I had to change it to this, and the X just stands for an A. It's just an old console thing that we used to do. Do you think there is a connection between your muscles and your game performance? I would say it's not directly between like my muscles and like my game. Obviously, it is. I do think going to gym has very positive health benefits, and makes you play better for sure. Because for me, the gym is a place where I go as sort of like a therapy and makes me feel better and like helps like relieve stress. So it's a big part of like my life. And then on top of that, just, you know, staying healthy, working out, getting like blood flow and stuff like that, and just, you know, trying to be active is just always going to be good for your health and like good for your brain. So it definitely does have a positive impact on my performance. The game that we won at EWC, so the last lane that we just played, the game that we won, first game of finals, because it was my first time RGLing, and from start to finish, I feel like I played that game really well. We finished with like 11 kills, and it was my first time RGLing, so definitely game 1 EWC finals. So my favorite weapon meta would probably be Volt. Probably Volt Havoc. Sorry, probably Volt Hemlock. I'm trying to think. I think yeah, definitely Volt Hemlock. I think is like my favorite gun meta, and then my favorite character meta is Bang Cat Horizon. So no scans. Scan legends make the game kind of boring, and I think makes the game not bad, but just like it becomes very, very predictable, and scans also give bad players confidence, which I don't like. So I would definitely say my favorite character meta is Bang Cat Horizon. I actually like crypto meta right now because my team is playing very well in it. Timmy's a good crypto, so if you asked me before, I would have told you I hate crypto, but as of right now, because we're doing well, I like it. But overall, the character does make the game pretty bad, but just because the constant EMPs and the constant drone scans just make the game like kind of obnoxious, and there's just like a lot going on. So I would say right now I'm very happy and I like crypto meta, but if my team wasn't doing well, I would tell you that I hate it. Definitely Japan, because I feel like the Japanese audience is big on Apex, and I feel like they would have a very good crowd, and it would be the first time that TSM and Falcons aren't like the home favorite, which I think would be a nice change of pace, because I feel like it is a little bit of an advantage when the crowd is like always hyping you up and like they have your back. So I think it would be nice to see like Fnatic have a really big home crowd and like have people cheering them on. And just overall, I think the Japanese community is just like really respectful, really nice. A big thing for me, like earlier on, was I wanted to learn Japanese so I could talk to like the Japanese players and learn more about them. So I would definitely say Japan is like number one. And just outside of it, I really like I really want to see Japan. I think it's a beautiful country, so definitely Japan. Besides my teammate would be Don, who's the coach for NIP, Matt from Guild, Zero from Falcons, Raki from GK, Penel from GK. Just pretty much all of the Australian LAN players are like all of like my closest friends outside of my teammates. So yeah, just all the Australian players. I would say the only thing I care about when I'm fighting is kind of just shooting, to be honest. I kind of just like when I'm fighting, like I tend to just really focus on shooting, and I don't really take anything else into like account. I think all of like my prep work of like the fight that I'm taking is usually calculated, so I feel like when I'm actually in the fight, I don't really think. I'm kind of just more focused on shooting. But obviously, just like caring for third parties, a big thing at the moment, because the ability, like it is so ability heavy in the game. A lot of the prep work, or like, you know, what you do before you take the fight, is your whole goal is to bait util or like burn the util, so like breaking crypto drone and stuff like that. All of those like things, like armor checking teams to see if you have like the armor advantage, just stuff like that is just all things that add up, and all things that I think about before I take a fight. Okay, is this? Did you? Sorry, is this from you?
Oh no, it's maybe you are from yours.
My viewer?
You maybe.
Okay.
His name is Wxltzy, my god.
What? Okay. Okay. Well, shout out him. I really appreciate the last part. So, when I first started RGLing, the main struggle that I had was learning to make calls assertively and be an assertive RGL and like be a dominant voice on my team. Because I think for the longest time I found myself falling back into the co-IGL role with Timmy. Whenever he would make a suggestion, I would just go for it and I wouldn't think about it. And then we would, sometimes we would die or like we just wouldn't play it how I would have wanted to play it. And if we had have done that, we would have had a good game. And those situations, they sort of kept piling up as I was trying to just learn to just be more assertive. And I think once I got to the point where I was when we really started to sort of progress as a team. So that was definitely the hardest adjustment period for me. It was just like learning to be an IGL. I already knew how to play the game because I played with Empty for so long. And because he's such a good IGL, like especially like macro. So I had a good understanding of like how the game worked and how to play the game. So that wasn't like the issue. It was definitely just like learning how to just tell my teammates what I want from them and what we're gonna do. What did I work on in Pro League? It was definitely just learning to just have a dominant voice and make assertive calls. And then it's just like I said earlier, it's just work ethic. My whole team works very hard, but I tend to work harder than everyone else around me because I'm so competitive to the point where if I'm not working the hardest on my team, then I feel like I'm not doing enough. And I'm not trying to shame my teammates. It is just that like, I don't know, I just have a itch in my brain where I feel like if I'm not working hard enough, then I'm not doing enough as a teammate and as a player, and I need to do more. So it's just like something that I can't help. As for the VODs, so the reason that I watch VODs is so that I can learn how other teams rotate, the comps that they're playing. I can learn who does what on what team, so like what their roles are, how they play fights, what fights they likely take, what fights they don't take, what situations I can look to take advantage of those teams, just based on how they are and just like how they play and stuff like that. So a lot of it just comes down to just like watching VODs and seeing where teams end up, so I know where they are at like certain points in the game. Because the big thing for my team is we are so good at fighting that if I can recognize that a team is in a spot that I want and I know who the team is, if they're a slightly worse fighting team, then I'm like going to take those fights. And as for the non-English VODs, it is really difficult because there's no translation, so I don't know what they're saying. So I tend to not often watch other regions VODs. I would like to watch Fanatics a lot, and even some teams like DMS or Aurora, for instance. Just like ones that speak in like their own language. I wish I could like understand what they're saying and like what they're thinking in the moment. But I have watched a fair bit of Yuka VODs, and just recently I was watching One Tappy, because I noticed that he's done some things recently where I've been very impressed. So it doesn't happen often, but I do it. And yeah, One Tappy, by the way, is very, very good at the game. His mechanics are very good. I didn't realize how good he was. So like a big reason that I would watch VODs from non-English teams is to just see how good their players are and see how they play, see if they're a threat, or just see if they they know what they're doing and how strong they are. I wish that the biggest thing for me is I wish I could speak Japanese so I could like just interact with the Japanese community a lot, because I feel like they are the most positive community. So I would just say thank you to anyone that does watch me from the Japanese audience, and I really appreciate it. And I do wish that I got to interact with them more, because they are some of like my favorite viewers. But yeah, hopefully we can have like a LAN in Japan, or maybe I can like find the time to try and learn some Japanese so I can like sort of interact with them all, because I feel like that would be really great.